the grandson of Right Thought. Welcome to the School of Marvelous Light, Low Flock. So this is the seventh and final message concerning the seven. And it's about what happens at the end. Like I said, a place that you come to. You could even say a realization that you come to, or a truth. After all of these vicissitudes, trials, tribulations, tests that you go through, you start to realize that you're going through it and it's pushing you to a certain place or a state of being. As the scripture says, these trials work patience. It's a fruitful thing that you're going through, which means it has a result that's not vain, a profitable result. You see, that's what he means by fruit. A result that's beneficial. You see, trials work patience. They cause you to be a much more patient person. Well, that's all good and well. You say, okay, why be more patient? Why am I being tested and going through these trials to make me more of a patient person? Why is that fruitful for me to be more patient? Because love is patient. Now, why is it fruitful for you to gain more patience so that you can be more loving? Why? Because God is love. So then let's take it back to the root. I'm going through trials so that I could become more patient. Well, if God is love and love is patient, then it makes sense the trial that I'm going through that builds this peaceable fruit of patience in me. It makes sense. And it also makes sense of who's the one that's orchestrating this to happen in my life to bring me here. You see, to a more peaceful state, to a more patient state, a more self-control state. You see, if you're more patient, then you have more self-control, correct? Of course. People that lack self-control ultimately lack patience. You see that there? So one of the fruit of the Spirit, I always say, is self-control. Well, that just translates also as patient. One of the fruits of love is your patience. Doesn't it coincide perfectly like Legos, like I told you guys? One of the fruits that show that you are love is patience. Kindness is another one. You see? So then if you're an unkind person because of your false sense of self, you see, then if Abba has written that your true self is love, then you're going to go through tests and trials to make you more kind. And the only way a person can become more patient or be more kind is to have either caused harm or to have experienced harm. You understand that today, little flock? Let's say it's your child. If you're an impatient, unkind person, but you bear a child, do you think you're going to have a good relationship with that child? Everyone who's listened to this video who is a parent knows that you had to become more patient and more kind once you had the child. You may have thought you were those things until you had your child and your child tested to see. You say you love your child. Well, were there times where you were impatient with your child? Of course there were. You see? So then you fell short of the glory of God. You fell short of the glory of love. God is love. See that today, little flock? So now that we know God is love, so we know that word, El, which is translated God, is love. See that there, little flock? So then when we read about Jacob, a man who wrestled, scripture says, wrestled with God. What was he wrestling with, little flock? Well, Let's see, what was he facing? He was facing a threat of his brother coming and killing him, coming and killing his wives, coming and killing his children, coming and destroying all of his goods, coming and doing all kinds of destruction. That's what he was facing at that time. Little flock, I want you to listen to that real nice and good so that you can understand the deeper understanding. You see? So he's facing a perilous situation, a test of fear. You see, your brother going to come, he's going to kill you, you're going to do this, he's going to do that, he's going to do this, you're going to do that. So then you have two choices then. You can either kill your brother, you can outsmart him and kill him to stop the threat. You see that there? Which is what the world often does. They perceive a threat, well, they go and they terminate the threat. Like I told you, the guy tried to do that I was riding with that day. He was threatened, and so he attacked the guy first. You see what I mean there? So Jacob was in that same situation. The same thing was happening to him. I'm going to wait till my dad dies, and then I'm going to go kill Jacob. That was what his mother told him. So he heeded to her advice, and he dipped and he left. But here it is, this guy's going to cross paths with him. So now he has a choice to make. So now he's either can kill his brother, or he can take the risk of his brother. He can show mercy to his brother, fall before his brother humbly, and hope that his brother shows him grace, and they can leave peaceably. Now, which one is the harder decision to make for a fleshly minded man? Watch how this goes, little flock. Isn't it beautiful when you see it? The fleshly carnal man is going to attack. He's going to try to terminate the threat. Isn't he? What did the guy that I was riding with do? So then what kind of man is he? He's also the one that took the bag, that had the bag with the money I told you about. So what state of mind was he in? Was he carnally minded or spiritual? So now back to the original question. Which one was the spiritual man? The one that bows humbly before his brother and gives him grace? Or the one that kills his brother to stop the threat? Now, we're going to add in another individual here to get another witness, because Abba likes when you do that. David. David was in a cave hiding from a man who sought to kill him. On many occasions tried to, even threw his spear to try to spear David to the wall at one point, and David had to dodge it and run up out of there. So it was clear that Saul had full intent of killing David. That was the intent of his heart. So now David has a choice. Saul comes right into that cave where David is hiding. It's dark in there. Saul can't see. So he doesn't know David's in there. So that means that David could come right up behind Saul while Saul's taking that whiz or taking that dump that he's taking. And he can do what, little flock? Y'all funny. He can fillet him. He can decapitate him. He can slit his throat. What else can he do, little flock? In other words, he can do what he wants because he got him dead to rights, because Saul doesn't even know. You see that there, little flock, little flock? So then David has a choice to make. He can either fall down before Saul in that cave and humbly ask for grace and show grace simultaneously, or he can slit his throat. What choice did David make? Now do you see why Jacob was wrestling? Now do you see why Jacob got the blessing? Do y'all see that there, little flock? Now do you see why he was wrestling and why he got the blessing? He was wrestling with the choice that I just described David had to make. But David fell down before Saul, and Saul cried out and said, "You are more righteous than I." You're a better man than me, brother. I'll tell you that right now. You're a better man than me. So then look here. I'm going to go ahead on and just tuck my tail and go on back home, and I'm not going to pursue you anymore. That's what Saul said. So David got the peace he was looking for. Now let's see if Israel, or Jacob here, gets the same thing. So he wrestles and he prevails. I told you God is love. So he wrestled with love. What was the wrestling he was doing, little flock? Should I by subterfuge and sneakery, go and kill my brother before he ever has a chance to kill me? Should I just kill him? Or should I give him grace and fall before him humbly? Well, his name is changed to Israel, he who wrestles with love, because that's what he was doing, because other people don't. That's why he was chosen. Other people don't wrestle. They let fear be their God. They just kill the guy. Like the guy I told you in the car with me. See what I mean, little flock? See what I'm saying to you? He could have went before that man and fell on the ground and said, hey, man, I'm not trying to kill you. So why are you trying to kill me? But shit, if I do that, man, that's weak as hell, man. That nigga might kill me, man. I'm setting myself up to die. That's stupid as fuck to do that. All those thoughts are death. The carnal mind is death. So the carnal mind gives you the death alternative as the choice. But the spiritual mind is what, little flock? Come on, let's flocculate on these hoes. Spiritual mind is life and peace. So then Jacob goes to Esau and falls before him, don't he? And Esau said, ah, and he wept, just like Saul did. Skeet, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Or do I got a skeely D again? Isn't it wonderful when you see that truth? That's the truth that sets you free from fear. Because the opposite of love is what, little flock? Flocculate on their ass again. That's right. So then, if God is love, then the enemy of God is fear. So then when a choice is made, do you make the fearful the fearful choice, or do you make the loving choice? Falling before your brother humbly is making the loving choice to say, let's give grace here. Speak grace unto the rock. Y'all can't hear that there? Speaking grace unto it, speaking grace unto it. Who is that? Zerubbabel. What does that mean? That means he who was born in Babylon brought forth that rock, speaking grace unto it, grace unto it. Do y'all understand that? What did the grandson of right thought told you I was told in the 40 when I was out there? I give you my grace. That's what he told me, in case y'all forgot. I'll remind you. That's what he said. I give you my grace. So Zerubbabel, when they're building the temple, brings forth that cornerstone saying, grace unto it, grace unto it. Y'all don't hear that there, though. Do you, little flock? Do you, little flock? That stone represents a hard heart. See, like Saul had, David softened it by saying grace unto it, grace unto it. Do you see that? Jacob softened Esau's heart when he fell before him, saying grace unto it, grace unto it. He was humble. I'm your servant, man. Just like David said, I'm your servant. Do you see it today, little flock? Do you see it today? I just want to rejoice because it's so beautiful, y'all. So the seventh is about rest. Isn't it always? You've been laboring for 6 years. Well, you got to rest in the seventh. You see that there? To keep it holy and set apart. It's a set apart year for you to rest from all your labor. And what are you resting in? Well, if y'all got a quick second, turn your Bible to the book of Colossians chapter 3. Go to verse 3. I'll give you a little minute to find it. Colossians chapter 3, verse 3. What did it say there? You are dead. Stop. Before we read any further. Don't read any further, little flock. Stop right there. You are dead. Can you accept that today? What do you say to somebody that dies? Rest in peace. So rest in, where is peace? The spiritual mind is. Can you hear it today? Can you hear it today? The spiritual mind is peace. So then rest in peace. Rest in the spiritual mind. That's your Shabbat. To be spiritually minded. No longer carnally minded. That's why Jacob's name was changed from Jacob to Israel. See, the spiritual man. That's why Abram's name was changed from Abram to Abraham. See that there, little flock? Spiritual man. That's why they get these new names, because God had already promised that. You ain't read the book of Revelation? You get a stone. It's a white stone. And it's got something written on it, don't it? Don't it? Don't it? Don't it? Don't it? You see? Why was Zerubbabel saying grace into it, grace into it? Because the one who was born in Babylon was given grace because Babylon's going to be destroyed. I was born in Babylon. See that there, little flocky? White stone represents a purified heart. You see? With a new name, because a new heart represents a new man. You ain't the same old man you were before. So that's why you're given grace, because you're part of the new world. You're an inheritor. What does it say Noah was? He became heir. I don't know if y'all hear that. That he became heir of the righteousness. He inherited righteousness to take it into the new world. See, the new thought, the new law. See, because this world got all kind of laws. It fade away and pass away. You see? But the new world got its own law. Do you know what that law is? Okay, before we say what it is, we're going to read the rest of Colossians 3. For you are dead, and your life is what, little flock? Is hid with who? With Christ. Where? In God. I'm at the right hand of the Father, that where I may be, there you may be also. Your life is hid with Christ in God. What is God? Say it, little flock, flocculate. Love. So your life is hidden in love, not in fear. So that's why a man must give up his life for the truth's sake, that his life is truly in love. The loving decision is where his life is hidden. It's not hidden in death, which is fear. That's death. Isn't it obvious? So your life is not hid in the carnal mind. So when the carnal mind offers you a suggestion for your life that you're going through, you should never listen to it because it's only offering you the death solution. Kill that nigga before he kill you. That's fear talking. You're trying to look tough. You're trying to look unbothered. But if you truly were unbothered, you wouldn't go looking for that nigga with a ninja mask around your shit with a pistol. You wouldn't do it. It's because you're paranoid. Paranoia means you thinking shit. And you thinking shit that make you paranoid because the thoughts that you're receiving are wrong thoughts. Or else you wouldn't be paranoid. Because if there were spiritual thoughts that are life and peace, does life and peace make you paranoid? So you're telling me a bank robber comes into a bank with a big ass AK-47, tells everybody to get down on the ground or I'm going to get the blasted. So everybody gets down on the ground, but you don't. You just stand there. He says, I told you to get on the ground or I'm going to blast you. Now get the fuck on the ground before I get to shooting. And you said, I'm paranoid to get on the ground, man. I think that might save me if I do that. I'm too scared to get down. Bitch, did you hear what I said? Bitch, did you hear what I said? Clickety, 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 click. Did you hear that? I'm loading the rounds into the chamber. I'm getting ready to fire it off. You might want to lay down now, but I'm too scared. I think I'll die if I lay down, man. I think I might live if I lay down. I don't think I want to do that. Does that sound right to you guys at all? It don't sound right to them other niggas laying on the floor. They like, this nigga ain't making no sense. He about to catch one at any... Pow! There it is. Now he is laying down. Okay, now let's take Yahushua's example. If the man seek to save his life, he'll lose it. Okay, get on the fucking ground, everybody. The same bank. We're starting it over again. The bank robber kicks in the door. Everybody get on the fucking ground. It's a robbery. I'm about to get the blasted if you don't get down. And so everybody falls to the ground except one guy. One guy tries to run out the door. Gets blasted on his way trying to run out the door. I didn't say run out the door or I'll blast. I said get on the ground. You went to run out the door. That's not the following the rules. You see how that goes? You sought to save it. I can get out of here before that guy gets to shooting. I'll save my life. Pow! You saved what? But if a man give up his life, okay, no problem. Okay, fuck, I won't shoot the guy. He got down. Hey, if you guys don't do anything squirrely, you'll live. I'll let you go. I just want the money. Okay, well then don't do anything squirrely. Shit. That's what he said. Nigga grabbing all the money, he runs out. All right, man, let's go. Hops in the car. You get on up and go on about your day. Y'all think that nigga came in here to kill somebody? No, he didn't. He came in here to get that money. So then why would I think he's coming in here to kill somebody? Because you're paranoid and afraid, listening to fear. That's why. That's why. But when you're with Christ, then you only listen to what he tells you to do. That's resting, little flock, because you learn to do that. You don't lean into your own understanding anymore. You did that for that past 6 years. You don't do that anymore. You don't try to figure shit out anymore because you're dead. Do dead people try to figure things out? When you have a question, can you go to a dead person and ask them and then they'll give you the answer? You got a math problem and shit on your homework. Nigga dead as hell. You over there like, hey man, what's the answer to number 6? He's dead. He can't say anything to you. He ain't got nothing to do with this. Read Ecclesiastes. He'll tell you that. He has no more dealings in this world. He done for. You see that there? So that's you. You are dead. Is that what it said? Was it plain when it said it? So then you rest in peace. Rest in the spiritual mind. That's with Christ. Rest in his bosom. That's what I do. That's what the grandson do. It stick right out the bosom of the vine of the tree. That's why Abba's words are perfect. That's why he says the branch. It's perfect. The true vine taught the world the perfect teaching. The only other teaching that has to come after that perfect teaching is the reminder of that teaching. That's what Yahushua said he would send. That's the only person next that he said he would send. That's what he said. That's what he said. That's what he said. Y'all hear me today? That's what he said. Then he will come remind you of everything I said. See what I mean to you? He's just going to remind. He's not coming with nothing new. He's just going to remind you of the new thing that was already said by Yahushua. Hey man, rest in the spirit. Because that's what the spirit do. Rest. You see that there, little flock? Right with the Father. Consistently, continuously, forevermore. So then so should you, since that's where your life is. See? Life and peace is the spiritual mind. And now that you know the mystery, that the man who is of God actually is the man who struggles with love. That's what he wrestles with until he prevails with the loving choice. Now, if you don't think he prevailed with the loving choice, then how come he left and went humbly before Esau and bowed and said, I'm your servant? Why did he do that? If he didn't prevail with the loving choice. I told you guys the two choices. He could have killed Esau or failed before him. David had the same two choices. He could have killed Saul in there or he could have failed before him. Which one did he do? Which one did Jacob do? Which one do you got to do? See that dead little fly? It don't never change. I know what I got to do. I got to do the humble approach. Because I'm not going to kill my brother. What did I tell you guys? The guy said to me about when we was talking about my ex-wife. What did I say? He like, you want to fight? I'm down for whatever, man. Shit. I said, I don't want to fight. So then why are you even talking about it? I thought you said you didn't do it. I'm prepared to forgive and speak grace into your hard heart. I'm prepared to speak grace into the rock. I am. Always. See that there? Y'all see that there? So you rest. And once you rest, that's called perfect. Isn't it? Isn't it? You have fulfilled the week. Isn't that what it means? You are now perfect. Be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Well, if you're resting in the bosom of Yahushua, in the bosom of the Father, then what does that mean for you? Isn't it obvious and easy to see? So, that's what you must do, little flock. Because when you go through the test, that's all you're wrestling over. Check me and see. If every decision that you make is about the love or not love. We're not talking about worldly people. I'm talking about you, little flock. Did you make the loving choice? Now, you're wrestling before you make the choice. See, then you Jacob's seed. And that's how it goes. The other nations don't do that. Lawless people don't wrestle. What are they wrestling with? A lawless man doesn't even know nothing about stealing, coveting, committing adultery. He don't know anything about that. See that there? So he's not wrestling in his mind about anything. He'll just kill. It's normal and natural. My first instinct. Well, ours is not, is it? But sometimes you feel like you may need to. Sometimes you may feel like, believe me, little flock, do not get in your pride. That's one last warning as well. Do not get prideful, because prideful go before a fall. Pride goes before a fall, excuse me. It's one of those 7 deadly sins. You see why you got to go through 7 years? And so when you rest, you're going to be fighting against the last one. Who's fighting against rest? That would be sloth, man. You see? Laboring. How to labor? What is true labor? You're going to war with that when you're no longer working for your bread. You see? When you're living by faith now, there's many times when you're just sitting there chilling, not moving, and that fleshly mind is going to tell you you're being slothful. Well, rest seems slothful. That's why workers hate people who rest. That's why. See? That's why they're offended by rest. You see? But you know that rest has its purpose, and it's just as important as the work. It's just as important. So that time, that period of you coming into that knowledge and finally resting in the knowledge of the truth, that you are dead. Now, the whole world wants to know the truth that sets a man free. That's what it is, little flock. Because now when you're dead, what does that set you free from? Watch this, little flock, and listen good to this. If you are dead, what are you set free from? You're free from being. I'll let it marinate in the pot. Go ahead, let it sizzle in the pot real quick. Or percolate, whatever you want to call it. When you die, you are set free from being. Anything, right? Anyone, correct? So that scripture said you're dead. Now, what's the Father's name again, little flockulators? We flocculating on them again real quick. I am. Now, if the Father's name is I am, and you are dead, but yet your life, the scripture says, is hidden with Christ in God, and the Father's name is I am, do you see it there, little flock? Then who are you? You are the loving response to every circumstance. That's simple, because that's what the Father is. God is love. So now you become love. And when you become love, you're perfect and you rest from being anything else. I don't need to be anything else. Love conquers all. So then why do I need to be anything else? See? So I die to any ideas of who I am. Because who is I am? The Father is. So what did Christ say about the Father? It is the Father in me who doeth the works. It is the love in me that's producing these things. Because love is what produces everything. I told you that. I told you this. If you don't make it with love, then it's vain. You may as well have not made it. Because the Bible says, if you have not love, then you have nothing. You are nothing. See how you're being nothing if you're not love. To see how it's connecting to what I'm telling you about all the time of your life you've been trying to be. Be who your parents told you who you were. Be who your school told you who you were. Be who your principal told you who you were. Be who your coach told you who you were. Be who your girlfriend told you who you were. Be who you told you who you were. Those are all wheels of other people. But Yahushua said what, little flock? Aren't you with Christ? So then what did he say? Not my will, but your will, Father. He even proved that by his mother saying, where is Yahushua? I thought he was with us. She's searching and she finds him and says, hey, why you didn't come with us? You didn't know I'd be about my Father's business? I do what he tells me to do because I don't have an identity of my own. That's why Yahushua said, who do you say that I am? He also said in another place, who do men say that I am? Do you hear it, little flock? Do you hear it today? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you just wasting your time living in vanity. And that's why Solomon reminded you that all was vanity. All of it is. And a vexation to the spirit. The spiritual mind is life and peace. That is just hard labor. You can't have peace when you're just chasing after more financial gain, when you're just chasing after more houses, when you're chasing after more women, when you're chasing after more clout, when you're chasing after more followers, when you're chasing after more subscribers. What is the magical number that will satisfy you? What do you think? Of any of those things I just mentioned, what's the magical number? How do you know it is when you don't even have it yet? You could sit around in a bando saying, I think if I had 7 houses, I'd be satisfied. But then you get the 7 houses and you see that you're not satisfied. And you know why? Because the eye is never filled with seeing. Is the eye flesh? The ear is never filled with hearing. Is the ear flesh? So then it's vain to try to fill something that's never filled, isn't it? Imagine if you had a pet, okay? You give him his little name and everything. He's sitting there with his little collar on. Yeah, picture him. Got your little pet sitting there. Now, when it comes time to feed this guy, he gets to crying. Whatever little sound the little animal you got make. So you give him some food. As soon as he's done eating, you give him some more. As soon as he's done eating, he never stops doing that. No matter how much food you give him, he never is filled. He is a bottomless pit. That's what you should have named that dog. He's not a pit bull. He's a bottomless pit. That's the hell kind of pit he is. He's a bottomless pit. The hell kind of dog is this? You can't fill him with enough. That's right. So then why try? Now, in order for you to try, you have to take on an identity, don't you? In order to go get gain, you have to come up with an identity, don't you? Or an image, don't you?
Oh, well, yeah, I do.
All right, then. What the Bible say about making images?
Well, said don't make any graven images, man.
So then why are you graving up one?
I'm not.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. You're carnally minded. I'm spiritual minded. What I'm trying to say to you here is, let me put my foot over here on the water real quick, since your emotions can't grasp what I'm saying. Let me put my foot on the water here. What I'm saying to you is, why are you building up a false life of yourself? That's what I mean about a graven image there, buddy, spiritually. You're making a false life, and it's going to crumble. That idol will be broken down. That idol may have been, I am a great businessman that makes lots of money. I am the best drug dealer in the world that serves all the best, purest dope to all the fiends of the earth. Whatever it is that you think making you something, it was built in vain. Because all you're going to do is become prideful in that image and believe it gave you what you got. That's why he said don't get into idolatry. You'll start to believe that's what gave you what you got. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. You just used the Father's name to get what you got, because that's what everybody has to use, because that's the only power, or as you guys say, that's the only God that there is. It's the God of Israel. And that God is a God of love. And it's that simple. So you can make up whatever name you want to make up. But if you take his name in vain, which means unloving, it's that simple. I need somebody to tell me that unloving and vain is not synonymous here. Have no other gods before me. I am your God. Have no other gods before me. So then if you have another God before him, in other words, you have something else in your life that you believe has given you something other than I am, then that means that you have another God. So then are you loving the true God if you believe that something else gave you something? Nope. If you commit adultery, are you loving your neighbor? No. If you covet, are you loving your neighbor? No. I've done this before. If you steal, are you loving your neighbor? No. If you lie, Are you loving your neighbor? No. Oh boy, it just keeps going with the same old stuff over and over and over again. Yeah, it's about love. I could keep telling you guys. Because God is love. So if you rest in the bosom of the Father, aren't you resting in the bosom of love? So then, if you are resting in the bosom of love, then what would you tell the world? To come where? Where does the grandson tell you to come? To love or to somewhere else? Where does Yahusha tell you to come? To love or to somewhere else? What does the world tell you to come? Somewhere else or to love? Because you won't find rest anywhere else, because that's where your life is hidden. You want life and you want it more abundantly? Yahusha said he came to give it to you. What does he mean then? To teach you how to be loving. So then his commandment that he gave was just that, wasn't it? I give you a new commandment. This is how you'll get life and get life more abundantly. To be spiritually minded is life. So live lovingly and let the spiritual mind show you the loving response to save you. It won't look like it because you're in backwards world. Do anything look right if everything in this world is upside down? Would anything in your house look right if I flipped it upside down right now? Hell to the no. So then this world don't look right. So then when you do something that's right, you don't look right. I told you about the leper's hand. I told you guys that mystery. You don't look right to the world. Yahusha didn't look right a lot of times. That's why they accused him of sin. That's why. What you're doing don't look right. Well, what about you, little flock? You're dead, aren't you? So then if a man says what you do don't look right, what does it matter to you? If a man says something that you did wasn't right, what does it matter to you? You're dead. If a man offends you, what does it matter to you? You're dead. If a man seeks to do harm to you, what does it matter to you? You're dead. So then you become a living sacrifice. That's what the Bible calls it. That is the sacrifice. What David did, what Jacob did, what you must do in order to be perfect. Because those were the elect men of God, weren't they? So then back to my original point and my original question about this was, what makes you righteous before God? What will make you acceptable to God? Okay? What will make you acceptable to God? Loving will. Isn't it obvious? Okay. So if loving makes you acceptable to God, the scripture says, the furnace of adversity is where acceptable men are made. So do you understand the 7 now? In order to get Leah, you got to know how to love Jacob. In order to have a wife. See that you love your wife. Wives, see that you reverence your husband. See, a lot of men cannot rest in their relationships because they're not loving. They're hoping that that woman will be. You're supposed to love me. You're supposed to support me. You're supposed to be a helpmeet to me. And what are you supposed to be to her? You're supposed to love her. Now, does love vaunt up itself? Uh-oh. Is love puffed up? Uh-oh. Does love seek its own? So then you see how you haven't been loving your wife? So don't you want to close that big stinking fat ass mouth of yours right now? And sit there with them Cinderella slippers on? With the gleam coming off the toe? Ding! Can't you see that little flock? Can't you see it? Most High never said, hey, wives, love your husband. That's what it said. It said reverence. Now, she will reverence you if you love her. But until you actually are loving her, then you can't ask her to reverence you at all. You're a hypocrite for asking her to keep up her end of the bargain, but you're not willing to. So all these men are running around thinking that credentials make them appealing to women. Fools. Think that height makes them appealing to women. Thinks that degrees make them desirable to women. Think that money make them desirable to women. But everything that I'm mentioning, do you notice, brother, that it has nothing to do with that naked little boy that came out of his mother's womb? That is you. You didn't come here with a degree. You didn't come here with any of that. So then that woman doesn't love you for that naked person that you truly are. She doesn't reverence you for the naked person that you truly are. She reverences degrees. Is that the kind of woman you want? She reverences money. Is that the kind of woman you want? You want a woman that loves money. Therefore, that's the root of all evil. You want a woman that has a heart like that? Right then. See that there, little flock? So you have to dwell with your own wife with understanding. Like the scripture says, that requires you to live patiently, lovingly, and kind with thine self. Graciously with yourself. Because wouldn't you with your wife? Or would you dwell harsh and critical with her? Well, if you dwell with yourself harsh and critical, then how will you deal with your wife? You can only love as you love yourself. When he said, as you love yourself, what that means is the way that you love you. You can only do what you do for you. So if you don't truly love yourself, then you don't truly love anyone else. See there? Because you are nothing, because you have not love. But if you love much, then now you got something. Now I want to tell you guys something else about love before we finish this message and why you can rest in it. Because nothing can separate you from it. It doesn't matter. Depth, height, sin, east, west. It doesn't matter what it is. It cannot separate you from it. So wherever you are, or I am, I know. Do you understand that? And as long as I know, I can't be destroyed. Because why are God's people destroyed? For lack of knowing that they are. That's simple. You let somebody else tell you who you are when you don't know that you are. If you don't know that you are, how can you love yourself? It's okay. I'll give you an example. You get out the shower, right? Now, when you first go in the bathroom, before you turn the shower on, the mirror is perfectly clear. You can see yourself clearly, right? You're all looking at the blemishes and what you need to get right and what hair you need to be plucked and whatever it is y'all people do in the world. But then when you turn that shower on and you get in it, by the time you're done, you come out. Can you see anything in that mirror? See how this is going? So then now you don't know the state that you're in when you get out the shower. You may still have soap sud on top of your head. You may still have some soap in your ear or somewhere, whatever. But you don't know it because you can't see. You're trying to wipe the mirror so you can see a little bit. Well, because you can't see it, you don't know whether it's good or bad, your reflection that is, or how you look. You don't know because you can't see until the fog wears off and then you can see yourself and then you go back to making sure you're good. But you got to be patient till the fog wears off so that you can see. You see that? Well, so it is with this. A man looking in the mirror with that fog, he can't see nothing. So he can't love what he's looking at, guys. Don't you see what I'm saying? If you don't know what you are or who you are, when you look in the mirror, you don't know what you're seeing. So it just looks like it looks when you get out the shower. May as well. You don't know what you're seeing. But someone starts to tell you what it is and tell you what things are and make you make sense of it. You see that? Well, when you're in the world, other people of the world are telling you those things. So you can't rest. Well, maybe if you got a little bit in better shape, you go online, you're hearing guys on YouTube say this shit. Maybe you need to be on semen retention. See? Okay, so now I'll be more like this if I get on semen retention. No. Everything is found in the Father. He's the one who gives every good gift. So let him tell you what it is. Let him do it for you. You see? Don't make anything else. Don't bring yourself in bondage to it. Because when you don't do it, then you'll think that you've fallen short. See? Well, you're dead, buddy. I don't know if y'all can hear that. You're dead. That's my song right there. Mess in love. You see what Abba doing, y'all? You see that? See how Abba do that? Moments in love. Y'all hear that little flop? See how Abba do that? That's my favorite song by the Art of Noise. Moments in Love. Y'all see that? Moments in love. That's what it's all about, little flock. Like I'm telling you today. He lovingly reveals your identity to you. Your life is hid with Christ in God. Let me tell you who you are. Okay. You're looking in the mirror. You're looking in the mirror. He's like, I am healthy. I am healthy. Okay. I'm beautiful. I am beautiful. Wow. All right. I am this. I am that. I'm this. And none of this is coming from outside stimulation to tell you that you're not. You see what I'm saying? In other words, hey, you ain't got a six pack, man. You're not handsome. You don't look good. Real men have six packs, have pecs that are 40 inches around and 20-inch arms and all this shit, guys. That's that nigga's idea of perfection. What does that matter to you? You're dead to the world. I told you hate means reject. He who hateth his life in this world have gained it. Worldly people can't hear that. So ultimately, the seventh day of the 7-year day, whatever you want to call it, is about resting in it and just going along for the ride and truly being dead, no longer murmuring to the Father, no longer complaining to the Father and looking outside of yourself for salvation and getting afraid anymore about anything. Once you see his hand work in your life, then you're not afraid anymore. Now you can truly rest. I was wrestling with love all this time to make the loving decision and not to make the loving decision. The only reason I didn't make the loving decision was because I thought I might have missed out on gaining something for myself. That's the only reason you don't. Some fear of losing something. But fear only comes to steal. That's the only reason it's there. It's not there to give you anything. It's only there to destroy your hope. It's only there to steal it. It's only there to destroy it. It's the only reason fear is there. But if you perfectly love in that situation, then you cast that voice of fear away from you, because that's the only thing that casts it away. So then I would say perfectly love today. Because with the Father, all things are possible. You're dead. So don't start thinking, I can't perfectly love. It's not possible. Of course it's not possible for a living person, but a dead person it is, because the dead person doesn't animate himself. He's animated by the animator, or the one who breathes into the nostrils. Then he becomes a living soul or animated. Do you see that there, little flock? So the place you're coming to is the plane, little flock. That's the place. The place of calm, equity, fairness. You see? With yourself, balance. With yourself and with others. The same balance that you judge yourself with, that it will measure to others or mete out. You see what I'm saying? By the same balance. So when you give yourself this grace, then you're going to give it to others. And now you're truly loving others as you love yourself now, not with iniquity, which is you give yourself grace when you mess up, but you judge others very harshly when they do. Well, then you're not dealing with balanced scales. That's iniquity. Imbalanced scales is. You see? So we give truth and grace here, because there are many times I've known the truth of a thing and still needed grace to break free from the lie. That's what the 6 years is about. That's what the furnace of adversity is, to make you an acceptable man. That's what it says, to make you a loving man, because only loving men are acceptable. You see, that's part of the blessing that God gave to Israel. If you hearken to what I say, then your men will be tender and delicate. Okay, guys, is a loving man tender and delicate, or is he harsh and hard? What would you say? So then the blessing of doing what God says or keeping his commandments is that you'll be tender and delicate. So then you'll be a loving man. You'll be kind. You'll be patient. You see what I'm saying to you? You'll have self-control. That is tender and delicate. But if you don't keep my commandments, what happens? Your heart shall turn evil. Do you hear what I'm saying to you, little flock, or not? So the love will leave. So then listening to God keeps the love in. But if I don't listen to God and keep his commandments, the love leaves. Why y'all wrestle with anything else? I wrestle with love and prevail. I wasn't called the grandson of right thought in the first year of the 7, or the second year, or the third year. Do you hear this, little flock? I wasn't called that then. But I'm called that today. Can you hear it, little flock? Can you hear it? Your life is hidden. That's what you're looking for. Don't you look for something that's hid? He said, what's the kingdom of heaven like? It's like some leaven that was hid in some dough. Oh, but boy, did it rise. Do you hear that? It's like a woman who had some money that was hidden in her house. She couldn't find it. But then when she found it, she called all her friends and rejoiced. That's you when you find out who you are. When you find your true life, then you rejoice. You see that there? So, little flock, that's the end for you. So there's no need in being worked up in the middle. You see? Abba has given his grace to give you an example so that you be prepared. That is the most loving thing I could imagine. Your child has to go through a test and they don't know what they're about to go through. So you send them someone who has gone through it already to warn them and to tell them of what's to come. Well, that somebody has to be from the house of God, because that's where judgment starts, the house of God. So I've been judged already. Don't you hear it, little flock? So for people that said judgment still came yet and judgment hasn't started, you're just lying. I'm already at the end of it. So then what are you saying it hasn't started yet? See what I mean about the world doesn't know they're deceived. They're deceived because they're looking outside of themselves for judgment. I didn't have to look outside of myself to know judgment started. It happened within me. See there, little flock? So now I can bear witness. Now, if my witness is true, then you know that I've actually gone through it. Which means you put my words to the test and test them. That's what I'm telling you all, little flock, because I'm resting now. So take the words that I have told you and put them to the test and see if they work for you. Take the Father's name in truth and in love, because that is the banner that the grandson is holding in his hand. That is the ensign he holds. Truth and love is the way into the kingdom, little flock. There is no other way. There is no other way. Truth and love is the way. That's the only way that you can get back into right standing with the Father, because that's the standing that the Father is in. And that's where Christ is, because Christ is at the right hand of the Father. You see that there, little flock? So it's time to come back home to the truth of who you are. And that will take a perilous journey to do so. Just like the children of Israel going into their promised land had to pass through a perilous journey. But fear not and fret not, just like Yahushua said. You see, little flock? So rest easy in the knowledge of the truth of who I am. And stand firm in it today. And let nothing shake you and nothing rock you. And you'll be standing in the end just like Yahushua said you would, because I'm still standing here today and I'm stronger than ever. I'm stronger today than I ever was before. See that, little flock? And I'm resting. So what does that tell you? Resting is beneficial. So that's why we honor it and we don't forget it, little flock. So y'all be blessed today, little flock. Silawam Israel.